This is the Meaningful Ambition podcast, where I highlight meaningpreneurs and people pursuing a meaningful third act. If you have meaningful ambition, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Daphne Ward, a business strategist and meaningful third act mentor. Today we have a very special guest with us, Daphne Laan. And before we dive into everything, I just want to tell you a little bit about her. So I'm going to put in my readers here. Daphne is a heart-led visionary founder and ecosystem orchestrator working at the intersection of technology, business, creativity, and impact. As a founding partner of Planetir, she's building an AI-powered platform that connects people, knowledge, and capital to enable global cooperation and real-world change, bringing together a community from over 55 countries to help shape a new kind of an economy. And not only that, she's also the co-founder of the Board Whispers. So she's got a lot on her plate. Welcome, Daphne.
Thank you for having me here.
Very excited to talk about what you're doing with your work and also how you're getting the word out about your work into the world, your marketing strategies. And then later, let's talk about why your work is so meaningful to you and the impact that you want to have. So why don't you just kick us off with talking about how, if anything you want to share about your work, your business, and then the way you're getting the word out in the world.
Yeah, so I think one of the key elements in my work is, first I'll give a bit of context for those who don't know me. So I am a long-time pioneer, and I think now I started. Yeah, I turned 50 last week, so that's why I was a bit hesitant.
Congratulations!
Shall I share this? Shall I not share this?
Yes, it's very powerful.
Yeah, so in hindsight, I can say I've been always a front runner because when I was a student, I was already a solar energy consultant. That was before the year 2000. Then I went to telco when almost nobody had a mobile phone in business. I took on a long journey because I traveled around the world. And during that world trip, I read a book, or one of the books I read was the Google story about making the unthinkable possible.
Okay.
And I ended up actually having a coffee after that trip at Google, and I became the head of technology there.
Okay.
Also at the time,
after one coffee, you read a book, and now you're the head of technology. Okay.
Yeah, technology industry client, and so my journey in a way is there's some synchronicities in it. But what I wanted to mark or carve out is that in hindsight, I can now see I was always a front runner, because when I was at Google, it was at a time where making the world's information universally accessible was actually a thing. Now, obviously, there's a whole different story going on. So that is one of the red threads, that I've always been working on something that is at the forefront. And I think the Board Whispers, why we started doing the Board Whispers, is also, to make the unheard heard and the unseen in a way visible. So concretely, what I do is I now have I'm one of the founding partners of Planetir, which is an ecosystem platform. It's AI powered for collaboration. And we connect people, communities, organizations to each other. And part of the revenues go to an impact fund so that we can support impactful projects, regenerative projects. That is the ultimate goal, to basically create a flywheel to make sure that by what we're doing, everybody can basically contribute to something larger than themselves. And I do that with two founding partners. They're based partly in Berlin, partly in Sri Lanka and Tunis. So we actually are gathering a global community of change makers, but also like a wide group. It can be anybody who feels like, hey, I'm ready to embark on a next step.
Fantastic. I mean, because you said 55 countries, so that's a lot. That's a big group. And when these people connect, what are they doing? Just to do projects together, or what are they doing once they connect?
Yeah, so the pillars we're building around are connection, so people can just connect with each other, learning and action. On the connection side, we have an AI-powered companion who basically checks out the profile, and the profile goes a little bit deeper than your regular LinkedIn profile. So you can really share about, what is it that you want to bring to the world? What are your dreams? What are your quests? What do you offer, not only in the widest sense. I mean, what are your musings? So it goes really into your more personal, what do you stand for, just being human.
Yeah.
And on that basis, we can match, but you can also say, hey, I would love to meet people who are not similar.
Mm.
And that is something you can basically select on the platform. And beyond that, we are now building also a learning gateway, so people can embark on learning. One of the focus points is what you basically don't get at school or university.
Oh,
So those
yeah.
skills that have been ignored often.
The most
But
important ones, right?
yeah, you find out basically these are the superpowers that
Yeah.
are the glue between collaboration, between making things happen, and often those are the skills that, I think in a traditional business type of education are not the skills that are put at the forefront. And the connection part is indeed about working together. So we're also now launching before summer, or we're piloting a marketplace so that people can find each other, but can also showcase their own offerings. And beyond that, we're also working with larger organizations that want to also merge, I think, the world of business impact and not see that as two separate
Mm.
topics, but to
Yeah.
combine those worlds.
Okay, super. So that's what's happening. And how are you getting it out in the world? How are people finding you, discovering you, learning about
Yeah,
you?
I think as we are focused on connection, I think making connections in a way is also what we do as a way to get in front of people. We organize residencies, so that's a way for people to co-work together, and people connect, and afterwards they also find their way on the platform. So that is one of the ways that people find us. Obviously, we have our own personal network, and what we often do is we go to events or international conferences, gatherings that are aligned with the work we do, and that is the place where a lot of people that we don't know find us.
Okay, because you were
So one
recently
of
at
the
Davos
examples,
as well.
yeah. So I can highlight two of those, because I think the first one that we started launching our MVP was Change Now. So at Change Now in
Mm-hmm.
Paris, it's one of the largest impact gatherings in Europe. But we were selected as one of the seats of change, and we had a booth there, so we could basically really take people along in what we're building. So what we're saying is we're building in a way in public. So we started already showcasing what we're doing before we were fully ready. So we
That's
also took on
great.
the feedback of the people in Paris. So basically they came by and we said, okay, try to make a profile, sign up, see what you like.
Okay.
And then we take on the feedback of people onto the platform. So
Good.
basically, in a way, we're still in a beta, and we're looking at, okay, is this the 1.0? When is it? When will we announce that? Because in a way, we've already moved now towards almost a scaling phase.
Can I just jump in there really quick? Because I want to point out two things. One is that you had the courage, because that's kind of scary, right? To put yourself out there before everything's working perfectly and you still have questions. That's a huge part, being open to feedback and listening to what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to ask you what you were doing at your booth to attract people in, and you already said it, that you were inviting people, come make a profile, come try it. And did you do other things? Did you talk to people just passing by, or did you have a way to draw them in, or?
Yeah, definitely. So I would like to touch upon two things on the courage that you talked that
Yes,
you refer to.
yes.
So I found that was already when I was at Google, that often when you have this fear about something, that fear isn't realistic. So one of the big experiments I took on
Yeah, I like that.
while I was at Google was like, what happens if you follow your heart in everything you do? And everybody who knows the feeling of that, the unwritten rules, and the way you're supposed to act, and
Yes,
especially large organizations, that is something that basically is there, even though we all pretend it's not really there, but it's there.
right. Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, so I took on an experiment at Google. What happens if you follow your heart in everything you do? And I found out that behind the fear of doing that particular experiment is really nothing,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more like in your head what you think will happen. And I
Yes.
found that when I went into that space, that might be a bit scary, that a lot of doors would open unexpectedly, because people also then appreciate what you're doing. And if you show up authentically, then you also attract the people that feel the energy of doing that. And
Yes.
then for me, a lot of doors open. So that is maybe one, segue into, okay, how do you show up? I now currently show up more as I am without, filtering too much. And that normally, and generally even on stage, I do that. So normally that is largely appreciated.
Very much so, because it's like you're human then, right? It's relatable. It's
Exactly.
accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you asked, okay, what are other examples? So, for example, oh, maybe on Change Now, I also brought my silent disco headsets. So
No, you didn't. You have a whole collection of them, or just
I have
one?
about 14 of them.
Okay.
And so at the beginning of the conference, I made a group, and together with also somebody I was
I
with
love that.
tramping together. So I made a group and invite people in to dance. And then at the end of the conference or one of the conference days, we say, hey, this time, meet us outside or meet us there and there. And then we just, put on a playlist. And funny enough, a lot of people that are attracted to the dancing are also attracted to our work. And then one thing leads to another.
That's brilliant. And I mean, this is really making concrete what you said to follow your heart and be yourself because you love dance. You're
Mm-hmm.
into dance. Obviously, if you have your own 14 private silent disco headsets, that's fantastic. What a beautiful and natural flow of connection. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So that is something we said when we started with Planetir. In a way, we said, "Hey, let's move into motion." And in a
Mm,
way, that was quite literal, literal,
yeah.
and as a figure of speech, because we started moving into motion by also organizing ecosystem events. Sometimes music, dance, art is involved to basically not say, hey, there's a difference between business and the things we love. It's basically, we want to bring something into the world, that makes your heart, you feel your heartbeat either
Mm,
faster or the same. And so that is one element. But obviously, we're also embarking on the more, the traditional, you can say, engagement. So, but also going to the places where action happens. So you refer to Davos,
yeah.
and that is something I've now been to twice. And what I noticed, it really attracts also front runners. So obviously you have the World Economic Forum meetings. That's not where we're going, but we're going to the places where, the new ideas are being discussed. And this year we sponsored the Basel Wealth and Investor Forum. And in a way, as an impact maker, it's a bit strange that you turn it around. But I thought
Right.
it was quite refreshing to say, hey, we're hosting a workshop and we're chipping in to make the event happen. And so there, I also met quite a magical group of people, amongst which the drummer of Guns N' Roses, for example, who actually
What?
happens to be, who happens to be an investor in
Really?
two Brazilian, in companies of two Brazilian brothers. So it is also following a bit in a way, one, your business sense, but also the flow of life. And
Yeah.
I found that when you are trusting and willing to lead into the unknown, so not just peek around the corner, but just full go ahead, and trust in that process, then I think the world around you starts shifting and helping you with the things that you want
Yes.
to achieve.
I agree 100%. I mean, I love that's a great story. I mean, that you're just putting yourself in these places where the people are. That seems so simple, but sometimes we make marketing way harder than it has to be. And
I know.
again, in marketing,
Yeah.
it's all about connection, and I love that that's your goal is the connection part. And then you're just there talking with people, and then these things happen and doors are opening.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we are doing behind the scenes is we've been started to record what we've been doing. So already since 3 years ago, we went to, for example, a couple of the climate conventions, the one in Egypt and in Dubai.
Mhm.
Obviously, Change Now, Davos, different gatherings. Catapult Future Fest is coming up in Amsterdam, which is also a place where we'll be.
Yes, I'll be there too.
You'll be there too, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm hosting a dinner. So that's also another
Oh,
example of,
okay.
okay, what do you do? I
Yeah.
think I create places for connection so that people enjoy themselves while they're in my place.
That is so also again so simple and so fabulous. It's like that you can actually enjoy yourself. Because, you know, a lot of people, they hear the word networking, they're like, oh, no, 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 I don't like that. It's not for me. I'm introverted or whatever it is. It's too stressful. But to make something playful, fun, enjoyable, relaxing, fun, I mean, that's such a good idea.
Yeah, so maybe two other things to share about that. So one example that is more connected to also a topic that people are interested in. So recently I organized a fundraiser in the forest because I'm based in a forest office. It's an old estate where a lot of people can come together. So we did a fundraiser and we said, okay, it's a bit strange if you would only fundraise for yourself. Why don't we open up space where we say it is a forest fundraiser, we work together as a forest, and other
Yeah.
people can showcase their projects. And then you just leave it open, you know, which connections are being made. And often some of the connections you don't realize are being made, but then a couple of months later you hear, hey, actually at that event, I met someone and I started working with him or her.
I love
And that is
that.
also, I think, you know, not thinking it's all about you, but it's
Oh,
about space you create so that things can happen. And then
yes.
ultimately it might lead to something, you know, that's also beneficial to the company that you want to bring into the world.
That's everything. It's not all about you. Don't make it
It's not,
about you. Please
it
don't
is
make it
not
about
about,
you. Yeah.
no,
Make
no.
it,
And that's maybe
yeah.
something to grasp or to put your head around
Hmm.
because initially I also thought I'm also, a lot on stages, talk about my work. And in the beginning, and still sometimes, I was a bit shy about, okay, why me? You know, why would I be on a stage? And then I turned that question around.
Yeah.
And the question became, what does it mean if I am not even daring to do so? Because I've done 3 studies, I've studied abroad, I did all these things. So I cannot say, you know, I didn't, I had a lot of chances. And if I then say I'm not willing or I'm not, you know, going to share my story, then basically that is not a nice story for all the people, you know, that are coming and don't have those opportunities.
Hmm.
So it's not about me, but it's I think about the voice I can represent while being in places that maybe others are not joining.
I love that. And also this part about creating the spaces for people just to for it to naturally, organically come together in a way that it's going to come together. Then you find out later about what happened. And
And I like it because organically you touch upon the other topic I wanted to share, which is in the forest we brought together people that are working on biodiversity.
hmm.
Because when we did the first fundraiser, one of the guests basically said, "Hey, I'm working on the microbiome. I love what you brought together. Can you also, you know, can we organize something around one topic?" And that one topic became from microbiome to macro movement. So we invited people in the Netherlands that are working on microbiome, on biodiversity, or in agriculture, and on health, which typically are not topics that you all put in one room. But we
Right.
invited people, and about 75 people to 80 people signed up.
Wow.
And one of the people that showed up actually had a foundation, and he said, "Well, can I adopt this initiative?" And then we said, "Of course, because I don't want to keep on organizing these
Okay.
things." So we adopted from microbiome to macro movement, which this happened, I think, 2 months ago. And he has a budget to basically bring this into the world further. They can
Amazing.
start a community on Planetir, so you know, off they go. But it's then
Wow.
also indeed creating spaces so that other things can take off, and
Wow.
whatever wants to happen will happen in that space.
Those are some really impressive and concrete, real examples of what can happen when you're open and creating spaces. So I hope everyone's taking that away. Is there anything more you want to say about marketing? Or are you ready to shift into
Yeah,
the?
I'll share one more.
Okay,
You almost think like I like, right? So I yeah.
love it.
So we've been filming what we're doing.
I
So
was
one
just
of
gonna
the
ask you. I was just gonna say you're getting some of this captured on video. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're filming what we're doing, not you know to share on a daily basis, but we thought, okay, one day because we said, hey, we want to move into motion, and I think you know one of the thresholds is when we reach 100,000 people. So we said, okay, one day we would like to dance with 100,000 people.
Okay.
When that moment, that milestone has been reached, we'll give everybody, people can film, but that will be the end shot of the documentary. So we're basically in our back of our heads have this vision that we are one day dancing with a big group of people. So then that is the end shot of the documentary. Will the documentary ever come? We don't know yet, but we're having fun with the idea and the thought of, hey, what are steps towards that goal? And for some reason, like small sort of sub milestones are starting to appear. So someone asked, can you help co-organize a dance for the tech scene in Amsterdam for about 2,000 people, which, is already a stepping stone towards that, getting into these thousands. So sometimes when you just say something, you might scare yourself, but who knows? I would have otherwise also thought to organize a party to connect all the people in the technology scene to each other, which is another example to just say, hey, you put something out there and the world responds in a way.
100%. And just also like having that, it's such a fun goal and idea to think about. And what you've talked about it, you've created it, now you've said it here, everyone else that hears that is going to say, oh, I want to be a part of that. It's like, it's a attraction and it gets people excited. And why not? Like you said, we don't know if it will happen or not, but it's fun to think about and it's fun to talk about and get the word out about it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Anything else on marketing?
No, I think maybe something might pop up in
Okay,
around the other
sure,
topic,
yeah.
because I think it's all connected. It's not,
Yeah.
I think, a separate topic.
I agree. Wow, let's focus on that. It's not separate. It is connected. It is part of what you're doing all the time. We tend to separate it and say this is what I'm doing when marketing, this is what I'm doing in this, but you are always out there marketing. So another great point. So tell us about what your work means to you, why it's meaningful to you. Is this part of your meaningful third act of your life? And what is the meaning out in the world of your work?
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up, because I think that's a question that we all should ask ourselves often. So I think, with my background coming also from the corporate world, at a certain point, I started to listen to my whispers, I say. So the whispers that, hey, I would love to challenge the status quo in boards in the Netherlands, for example. And that was the reason why I started a master's in executive coaching, not because I thought I need to become a coach, but then I thought, okay, I just checked the box of, when people ask, who are you to give some advice on board level, apart from, having taken seats, around, in boardrooms a lot, all the time while at work. That became basically the first sort of step into, hey, there's this notion, what if, and then start to take an action without maybe exactly knowing, what the shape and form will be. But I'm sharing this because also to open up the space to think, okay, you don't have to have it all figured out on day one. No. I think it's more about feeling which direction you want to go, having some sense, and then start to walk. Then after my, experiment, what happens if you follow your heart in everything you do? One of the doors that opened to me was to Down to Earth Film, which is a film that premiered at the Climate Convention in Paris. And that made me decide at a certain point to leave Google, because I thought I don't want to stay there for 10 years. I mean, it would be easy to do so, but I also thought, it's good to, do something else. So I became an impact investor in that film, and I founded House of Wonder. And House of Wonder from that time on became my business umbrella. Also, at that time, I didn't really know, what would come out of it. I just called it House of Wonder, and I knew it's going to be around going from wonder to change. And the Board Whispers came about not long after that, but I'll just finish the part on Down to Earth. So Down to Earth, we brought together a group of people to make impact with that film. And at the time, people were really thinking, okay, why are you leaving Google to go to... For those who don't know the film, it's about a family that interviews wisdom keepers around the world. It's not so much about the family, but it's about the story that the wisdom keepers share. And they're not connected by technology, but somehow they all share a similar message. It makes you think they're not connected, but somehow they are connected. So it's about connectedness with yourself, with the world around you, with each other. And for everyone, that film conveys a different message. It just touches upon, what you see and what you feel when you see that movie. Which is already a step towards, okay, what is the impact that you want to make? That was sort of my first embarking into the impact space, because through Down to Earth Film, I got a lot of contacts, also in the world I'm not from, like the more the greener places, the impact spaces. And that widened, in a way, my perspective as well on business, because now we also always see that business and making impact are often separated, or people start to make impact after they're successful in business. And I think, that should be one and the same thing. So why don't we redefine how we work together? And that became the stepping stone for Planetir. Because we're basically saying, hey, let's co-create the world we all know is possible. And how would that work if we build the foundational infrastructure to do so? So the platform itself is more like an enabling and making use of technology and AI to actually foster connection again. And from that connection, you can say, hey, I want to learn more, I want to work together. And then when there is a financial transaction, part goes to the impact space, so that people can say, hey, I want to support this work or this other project or even this venture in the future, when it becomes a flywheel for basically allocating funds to where it's needed most, and making sure that you do that while everyone thrives. So everyone thrives by having something that you feel connected to in your work. And that is basically that. And the one thing to add is the board whispers came after Down to Earth, because I was at the education committee of the VU University. And with my co-founder Sonja, we were tasked at contributing to the education committee, and we needed to write an article. And we decided to write together one day in a hotel.
I love that.
And then from that, the board whispers was born, because we recognized a lot of things in each other, but also some complementarities. And we said, okay, maybe we should start a company. And that's when we started the company and never wrote. I mean, we did write that article, but ages later.
Wow. That's amazing. I love through the red thread through everything you've shared is that you're just opening up and connecting with people, and things are happening, and you're following your heart. Because of that, you meet this person, and that person becomes this connection. So that's amazing. And it's clear you find this work meaningful, and that you feel like you're having an impact on the world. What's for you the most meaningful part of what you're doing?
So I think it's creating a space for people who, like for everyone, I feel, but I think you're creating a space to really feel that things are possible. Because I think currently we are in a world where you might think things are not possible anymore, or there is no place for XYZ, or we need to double down on, and being very strict about things and put things in boxes again. I think what we're showing, and that is also a bit of maybe the struggle in the beginning, is to say we're playing chess on 5 boards, so we're not making a choice. And that's also internally, that is a conversation sometimes. And I also realize, also for our technology team, that might not always be easy, but it is basically breaking down the barriers of thinking that you only need to do this one thing. And you can bring your whole self to the table. You can have and make impact and do business. You can have fun while you're working. You can dance while you're working. You can be very scientific about things, but you can also follow your intuition. And I think the notion of having things at the same time is something that I feel like in the East is already normal, because it's more infused in society there. But in the West, you are raised with either or. You should either do this or that.
Binary.
Choice. And everything is very strict and rigid. And I have a mixed background. So by the sheer fact of being, and I'm born in the Netherlands, close to Gouda, so I have a very Dutch childhood. But I always felt that different stories could exist at the same time. It is not only this one thing or the other, because I'm both. So I cannot separate one thing from the other, because then there's no whole story. And now you see the world moving in a direction that we all maybe didn't expect, or maybe we saw it coming, but for a majority it might come to as a surprise where we find ourselves in. is that you cannot solve things anymore with simplicity or just saying, okay, the Dutch word for it, laat het plat slaan. So
Yeah.
if you recognize that. So, let's simplify it. But I think it's time to honor the complexity of what is there and to basically put that on the table and not be scared about it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I love the work you're doing. I know it's making a big difference. It will continue to do so and expand. I hope I'm at the 100,000 person dance party.
Yeah, or the first one.
Yeah.
No, no,
Um, But thank you so much for your insights and sharing your very practical, concrete, real world stories. There's a lot to take away. I will include links to all of your websites
thank
below.
you. Yeah.
Any last words you want to throw in before we wrap up?
Yeah, it's interesting because you started with the question on marketing, and both with the Board Whispers and with Planetir, our feeling is we haven't really started the marketing yet.
I love that. No, I've heard this from other people too. When I talk to them, they're like, "Well, we don't have a marketing plan / strategies. We're just out there talking to people." So wonderful to hear you say that.
Yeah, and actually we do have a vision and a plan. Um, but I think in a way there's so much more we can do, and we have a feeling that where we are now, we're really at a space where we're starting to open up for more businesses, more communities, actually embarking on we're writing a white paper that is coming up. We have done a policy paper to also say, okay, how can we make our story shareable to others? So that it's not about us, but if you can showcase an example of tech for good or AI for good, or how do you apply AI in a world where we want to foster connection rather than fragmentation or disconnection? Well, here's this story, pass it on.
Yeah, inspire, pass it on. I
Yeah,
love that. Connect.
yeah. So that would be my final note. Just don't be afraid to share your story, or even be proud to just share where you're currently at.
Absolutely. Okay, well, beautiful parting words. So go check out Daphne's website and, take her lessons to heart and apply them to your business. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you for listening to the Meaningful Ambition podcast. For even more advice, as well as the ways I can support you with your business or with your meaningful third act, head to my website, fireflycoaching.com. Make it meaningful.